think the second edition went brilliantly. I think we exceeded our expectations, especially with the attendance, with the turnout, especially also with the discussions that we had. I think it went exactly like how we planned it, so which makes it more exciting in planning the third edition.
And what exactly stood out for you from the discussions during the 2-day summit? Any memorable moments?
Just really us having the appearance of the African Energy Chamber Chairman, Mr. NJIU, him flying all the way from Johannesburg and coming to join us. Also having our Honorable Governor, Natalia Kwagose, coming and delivering a keynote address. Also having the special advisor of the head of petroleum upstream unit, Honorable Cornelia Shilunga, also showing up and supporting us. That was special. And also having the young people in the room participate in asking intellectual questions. That showed us that they understood why they were there. They understood the conversation taking place. And just having representatives from across the value chain of the oil and gas industry, that also stood out. And so we really thank everyone, all our sponsors, all our partners and endorsers that showed up and came to support us. Yeah.
Can you share more about the key topics that were discussed during the summit? Were they relevant to Namibia's current oil and gas landscape?
We had topics that ran across the value chain. We spoke about HSC, which is health, safety and environment. We spoke about becoming a supplier. We spoke about financing, especially young people who want to have access to funding. So we invited the banks, we had a finance panel, and we spoke about access to funding, especially for young people who don't have collateral. How can they have access to funding? Spoke about different, let's say, lower level careers. So the conversation, it took a span of 2 days to discuss, and we also made sure that we had opportunities to not only discuss through Q&A, but also have networking sessions, which made it easier for us to have direct access to them, these industry leaders. I think that was the highlight. I think we created a conducive environment for, any young person from high school, young professional to walk up to the chairman of the African Energy Chamber and to ask those questions. I think we succeeded in bridging that gap, and it was just surreal. It was beautiful to witness.
Yeah. Do you feel like that this summit truly empowered young Namibians to take their place in the oil and gas revolution?
Absolutely. I think starting from the attendees that we had, from every region, not just Windhoek or even Walvis Bay. We had students from universities, we had students from TVET institutions like NIM and BTC. We had unemployed graduates also take the stage. We had young entrepreneurs. We had people from the rural and the urban towns. They all came together.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that we had such a diverse group gather in one room, it really showed that there's interest. And I think it also then goes back to saying that we did live up to the expectations of the youth. Could we do better? Absolutely. There's always room for improvement, especially with, the feedback that we receive. We only aim to do better and to answer more realistic questions, because I think that's what we do with the data that we receive. We want to make sure that the young people have a voice, have a platform that represents them specifically in the oil and gas industry. And then we want to try and bridge those gaps by solving them together, coming together with governments, coming together with the private companies and the IOCs, the international oil companies, and saying, this is what we are currently facing. How can we come together and solve this problem for Namibia's most richest resource, which is its youth?
And Justina, what advice would you give to young people looking to break into the oil and gas sector?
I think strategically position yourself for success. Sounds cliche, but for young people who are looking to break into the oil and gas industry, number one, it's not exclusively for the specialized geophysicists. Oil and gas is a long value chain. It starts with you reading deeply into it and finding out exactly how you can plug into it. So when you understand what upstream means, when you understand what midstream means, as well as downstream, these are all conversations that we dove into very detailed. So then you understand that you can play a role as an HSC officer or as a communications officer or as a finance or logistics officer. You can even have, with your background of education, specializing in anything, you can then upskill. So to upskill means to add another skill or qualification to the current skill that you have, right? Or you can reskill, which means you can gain another skill, specializing or making you a specialist in a key area that makes you employable in the oil and gas industry. But you could also be an entrepreneur if you're passionate about starting businesses or you already have an existing businesses. Then you can try and align your business with the industry standards, which is very important. We also spoke about standards, aligning your business with the industry standards so that you can be applicable to play in the oil and gas sector. I think the access to information is really what young people needed, and we tried to solve that through having very important conversations. And I think as a young person, having access to that information, making sure you have an active LinkedIn account that is up to date, researching and reading, and being in rooms like the Youth in Oil and Gas Summit, engaging with speakers that were on the stage. I think having access to information helps you to make a more informed decision across it doesn't matter the background. And we really want to debunk the fact that no, oil and gas is reserved only for the mechanical engineer. Even the mechanical engineer would need an assistant to hand them their tools. So whether you have a background as a TVET sector, as a TVET student, or you went to NIMT, or you did welding, or you just had your small business, work on that, align it with the industry standard, and be strategically positioned, have the information, submit or update your CV. Make sure you submit it with petrol funds. That's the kind of information that one should have to be able to make an informed decision.
Yeah. And just looking ahead, Justina, what would you like to see done differently or added in the next edition of the Youth in Oil and Gas Summit?
Absolutely have more people, when I say people, have more representation from government. Absolutely. We would like to, or we're going to already start reaching out to line ministries, because I don't think this is a conversation that should be had by just one part of government or just by youth alone. So our strength really lies in collaboration. And also, we're also going to try and reach out to whether it's representatives from oil-producing companies like Suriname or Guyana. Those countries were successful in, producing the oil and, really making it a success for their community. So as Namibians, as young Namibians, it's very important for us to have conversations with those countries, even African countries like Nigeria or Ghana, right? Then we can expose the Namibian youth to an international market and an international way of doing this thing. I think we're going to try and increase our efforts in then opening or using the summit as a vehicle for international exposure for our attendees. Also making sure that we continue having representation from high school level, from recent graduates, especially the unemployed. I think they were the most valuable people who were in the room and had all the opportunities to really do something with their qualification, because we all know how it feels to have a qualification and be unemployed, right? So we're going to increase our efforts, especially with reaching out and having a roadshow that goes throughout the country. We really call on every company that is interested in partnering and supporting us to really come on board and support us and make all of these dreams possible through support. We're going to try and do as many radio interviews, television interviews to make sure, and even do appearances on TikTok. We're going to find the youth where they are, right? So this is, as professional as it is, it's also very exciting. We don't want the youth to look at it as exclusively for a select few. Oil and gas is going to be this country's key. It's such a valuable resource, right? And the conversations that we also have, we also encourage young people to also look for opportunities in other sectors like agriculture, because the entire country can't move to oil and gas right now, right? The money needs to circulate across the board. So those are the kind of discussions that we have and that we will continue to have and increase on. As well as climate change also, very important. We also talk about sustainability. We also talk about what is the best way, what are the best practices to extract this resource without harming our marine ecosystem. right? So across 2 days, it's too much conversation to have. But we're going to make sure that we have representation from across all 14 regions, from all levels, all walks of life.